mystery friends. So glad you're here. Oh my, I get so nervous every time I get on here to do a live. I do not know why. Let me make sure my mic is all working. If you could give me um, a thumbs up or a yes that you hear me in the comments, that'd be awesome. Because I can never tell if I've turned it off or not. Of course, because that's just how I roll. I'm so glad you're here with me. If this is your first time visiting and hanging out, I am Sarah Walday. I am the writer of the Honey Pot Mystery Series and the Paranormal Penny Mystery Series. But today we're here to celebrate book 7 in the Honey Pot Mystery Series, which is Bloodlines and Betrayals. You can see the cover right over there up at the corner of the screen. Yeah, it's book 7 in the series. Excuse me, my voice is already going out. Sorry about that. I just get so excited. And today we're just going to hang out and I'm going to answer some questions I've had in comments or through my email newsletter. And I'm going to give away this beautiful copy of Bloodlines and Betrayals. I'm going to sign it and send it away to the winner. If you're watching this on the replay, have no fear. I'm not going to choose a winner until Friday. So leave a comment to be entered in the giveaway. And I will pick a winner on Friday and let you know who won. Okay, so let's get on to my questions. We've got a few questions. They're over here. So if you see me staring in that direction, it's because I'm reading my questions. I've got them in 4 different categories, which is personal, homeschool, writing, and then of course the Honey Pot Mystery Series. What's up with that? And we'll go in that order. So if you have any other questions for me, I'll try to get to them after I finish these. Leave them in the comments and I'll be scrolling through those every once in a while to check to see if there's anything new that I've missed. Also, I'm kind of home by myself at the moment. So if the dogs start acting up, I'll have to take a break and go get them to calm down. Hopefully they're just going to be taking a nap while we chat. So much like little kids, right? Like having toddlers again. Which leads me to my first round of questions, which is the personal questions. And the very first questions for me was my family and how many members are my family. There are 4 of us of my immediate family. It's my husband and I have 2 children. My husband and I have been married for almost 21 years. That's crazy. And my kids are 19 and 16. And yeah, that's my family. They're all super supportive. They help me sometimes write my books as far as mom is stuck. So mom talks to them about the plot and we work things out together sometimes. If I need to name something and I don't have time to ask my newsletter, I will usually ask one of them and they will help me figure out the name for somebody or a place or something like that. Pets. Yes, you just heard me mention my pet over here. In this tank is Franklin the turtle. He stares at us and sometimes does backflips during lives just to be annoying, I'm sure, because he stares at me all day long as if he disapproves of me, but that's his personality. That's who he is. That's Franklin Turtle. Then we have Lucy, which is a Jack Russell, and we have Olive, which is a Husky Boxer mix. I don't really count our chickens as pets, but you probably can hear them from time to time. We have 4 of them. They're outside. And they're quite annoying because they don't act like normal chickens. They act like little raptors and they sound, if you're sitting on my porch swing, it sounds like you're hanging out in the middle of Jurassic Park because my chickens are that crazy. So that goes for my pets. This one is kind of personal, but kind of writing, but I included it here because it was asking me what my goals for writing were, like when I started writing. So when I very first started writing, I started with a book called Diary of a Dyslexic Homeschooler, which was kind of a love letter to my homeschooling experience. But I just dared myself to try to do it. I had been on a webinar about how to publish a book and how to write a book. And after watching that webinar, I decided to dare myself to do it. And so I did. And once that was accomplished and it wasn't as terrifying as I thought it was going to be, I immediately, I published that book in, I think in October, maybe November, I think October. And the next month was NaNoWriMo. And I dared myself to write a mystery. And that's how the Honey Pot Mystery Series started. It was all based on me daring myself to do something I'd been dreaming about forever. And that was be a writer. yeah, so my goals for writing at the very beginning was just to see if I could do it. And once I proved to myself that I'm capable of getting them out there and having stories with a middle, beginning, middle, and end, and I can actually have some people read them, besides my family and my mom and my best friends, uh, then it became more of a career for me. And it's going to be what my family hopefully retires on, and I can pass it down to my children, all those kind of things. So my goal was just to see if I could do it. And now it's become a career. So that is more my personal questions. There weren't very many of those that I'm comfortable answering. So, because they're not all about me, some of them are about my family, and that's their business, not really mine. So on to the homeschool questions. One of the questions was, how many kids do I have? I've already answered that. I have 2 kids. And how long have I been homeschooling? I like to say I've been homeschooling since the womb, although that wasn't the intention. My kids have never been in a traditional government school. They've only been homeschooled in our family. And as long as God lets that keep going, that's what we want to keep doing. One of them has already graduated, and the other one only has a few years left. So I'm almost going to be a retired homeschool mom, not really retired. What is that called? Emeritus homeschool mom, where I have finished my career as a homeschool mother. And now I'm just kind of, the mom, the coach, the person they go to ask for advice on doing laundry and stuff like that. No, it's much more than that. In fact, I've found that not helping, but encouraging my college student is just as much work as homeschooling them in high school was. So that's pretty interesting to me. And it's heartwarming to me to see that the relationship is still there, to where um, they can express their feelings to me, knowing that I'm a safe space and knowing that I might give some advice, and that advice is sometimes useful. So that's how long I've been homeschooling, how many kids I homeschool. And then another homeschooling question was the curriculum. I know a lot of homeschoolers out there love to ask the question, what kind of curriculum do you use? And I have used just about everything at some point in our homeschool journey. So I don't really have an answer to give you directly for homeschooling. Uh, at this point, like I said, I only have 1 student. So we use things like Teaching Textbooks, which is an online math program. We use things like Seven Sisters Homeschooling, which is all, it's not online, but they're like ebook formatted homeschool. We use Guest Hollow, things like that. Make up our homeschool curriculum, but it changes a little bit every single year, as do the needs of my students. So it should change along with them. So that's my personal and homeschooling questions. If you want me to do a video more on homeschool, let me know in the comments, and I will make a video on what it's like to be a writer who homeschools. That might actually be one of the questions that is coming up, but we will see. So writing, there were a lot of questions on writing. So the first question was, how do I plot my my novels? And the best answer I could give for that is, if you consider plotting, going a beat at a time, making a timeline, structuring it to the letter, then I don't plot. Um, more often than not, what I do is I come up with a character in my head who's usually already been, I say talking to me, but that can make me sound a little bit more off than I feel. But there's usually a character or a character scenario that keeps replaying in my mind. And that's the character I bring out. And then I put them in scenarios in my head, like, what would Lydia do if X, Y, and Z happened? What would Penny do if X, Y, and Z happened? How would they get out of this situation? And I kind of just play with it in my mind. Again, my family is very helpful. My mom talks some of this stuff out with me. My son, my daughter, they talk things out with me. My husband talks things out with me. But I don't really, on pen and paper or keyboard, plot the way traditionally people would see somebody plotting. But that might change, and I'll explain that in a minute. Because one of the next questions was, what are my plans for future writing? which is a really, really broad question because I don't want to ever stop writing. But I do have some new series ideas coming up, um, which leads back to the plotting question because I think with this very new series idea that I have in my head, I think I'm going to give plotting a try. Now, I'm super scared to do this because I'm afraid that I will fall out of love with my story after I've plotted it. I like to be surprised while I'm writing. I like to have an idea who the villain is and the clues that they'll leave behind. But if that should change mid book, I like to allow it to change and then go back to fix the story. So what I have to do is if I'm going to start plotting, like I just said, I don't do. If I really do try to do that for this next series, which I'm planning to do using Sarah Cannon's How to Plot Your Novel series, but also using Jane Calmes. I'm going to mispronounce her last name. Jane Calmes's Simple Mystery Plotting workshop or class she has on Teachable. Using her outline skills, I'm planning to outline this complete first novel in the series. Maybe even outline the series as a whole because I'm planning to only make it like 3 books before I start writing. And I'm really scared about that because I'm scared I'll fall out of love with it. I'm scared I'll get bored with it. But I'm giving myself permission to change the outline as I see fit, which is what I do anyway with what's already in my head. But as I've been writing, I've found that I'm having trouble. This is something you might only hear from a mystery writer. I'm having trouble coming up with new ways to kill people. So, so I want to see it on paper before I commit to it in my story. And I think outlining will help me do that. Plotting will help me do that. But we'll see. We'll see. It could totally burn me out and I could just start writing in the middle of the outlining process and give up on it altogether, which sounds like a kind of me thing to do. So yes, I have 2 new series that I'm hoping to put out in the next year or 2, at least the first book in each series. And I'm still writing on the Paranormal Penny series, so that's going to have a couple more coming out as well. Let's see. My next question is, how do I find time to write? And this one was specifically because I am a homeschool mom and a wife. How do I find time to write? I jokingly say to people that I don't sleep. That was truer when I first started writing. I was not getting good rest when I first started. I am much more deliberate on how much sleep I get now. And so that's no longer the case. And it's not really funny anymore for me to joke that I don't sleep, but I have been known to say that before. How I find time is I take it where I can get it. If I'm homeschooling and my child is doing, like I mentioned, a curriculum called Teaching Textbooks, it's all online and the math talks to my student and my student doesn't need me for the entire math lesson. I will sit beside them and write as they're doing math, knowing full well that at any moment they could go, Mom, I need you. And I need to stop and go back to my number 1 commitment at that moment, which is homeschooling my student. That comes first. Not in my whole life, but in that situation, that comes first. So I have to put down the writing and I have to attend to my student because their education is more important than my writing at this time in life. So that's what I do. I've tried to write every single day and give myself like a word count or a time limit. That does not work for me because I am never free at the same time every day. I know people say if you write it on your calendar, you'll make it happen. And if I write it on my calendar, it's much like plotting. I'm already dreading it and bored of it before I even get to it. So that just does not work for me. It's much better for me to start a routine, as in when school is over, I go do the dishes, then I sit down on the couch with my laptop. That's more routine. That could happen at 1 p.m. That could not happen till 6 p.m. But because I followed the routine, I know it's coming and it's a lot less threatening to me. So that's one way I carve out time to write. going along with this question was, how do I keep my sanity while I'm writing and homeschooling? And again, I've jokingly said, well, I'm crazy, because it feels like I am from time to time because of how much extra it puts on my shoulders to write, to publish, to market, to do my YouTube videos. All of those things take up a lot of energy and time. But I'm no longer going to joke that way, because I don't think it's fair to joke that I'm crazy no matter how I feel about it, because in truth, I keep my sanity a lot because I have a really good support system. I have prayer, I have my family, um, and they back me up. So I'm not without help. I'm not without supports. I'm not without inspiration when I need it. It is hard. It's it's not easy at all. In fact, writing is my happy place. It makes me happy. It makes me feel good to write. It makes me feel close to God, because I feel like it's a talent that He's given me, that I get to play with Him in this area. I know that sounds kind of weird, but yeah, so it kind of feels like I get to be closer to Him because I'm using the things He's given me. But it is, since it's become a career, it's not so much of my happy place. Sometimes I'm just meeting deadlines, and that takes a lot of the joy and fun and random excitement out of it. But I still really enjoy it. If I can get myself to sit down and commit to just 7 minutes of writing, I fall back in love with it. So that's what I try to do. And that leads me to the next one is, how do I write? And the best way for me, the person, to write is in short, tiny sprints, especially when my brain is tired. I use an app called Write or Die, and I might make a video on that. And I put it in for 7 minutes, and my goal is to do 250 words in 7 minutes, and I very rarely fail that. And if I can get that done, even if I'm kind of blocked, then I'm happy with it. If I can do 2 rounds of that, then I'm thrilled with it. If I start doing that and I find that I just keep writing, then I'm ecstatic. And that is when the flow happens. That is when I have the most fun. But it all starts with me giving myself permission to write for a very short amount of time, and not to put the pressure on myself to sit down for 2 hours. Let's see. Another question I got was, what advice would I give myself if I could start over as a writer? And the number one advice I would give myself, which is hilarious to me because my parents, my husband, mentors all gave me this advice too, but I didn't follow it. And that was to be patient, to not to run like it's a marathon and not like it's a sprint, to not burn out so quickly, or burn out my resources so quickly, either mentally, emotionally, or monetarily, to take my time to focus and to just enjoy the process as I'm going. I'm much more compassionate to myself that way. I don't know if you can hear that, but somebody's got fireworks going on around here. All for my book, I'm sure, right? But so I'm sorry if you can hear that going off in the background. It's in the middle of the day. Why they would be doing fireworks right now, I don't know. Anyway, number one advice that I would give myself or any other writer at this point is to be patient. Be patient with yourself. Be patient with the process of learning how to publish. Be patient with the process of learning how to market. Be patient in the process of learning how to edit. All those things. Be patient. Be patient. I am not a patient person. So I did not take that advice early on, and I wish I had. Okay, let's see. How do I combat fatigue? I think I talked about this a little bit. I actually allow myself to sleep now. I don't normally, sometimes I will, but I don't normally stay up until 2 o'clock writing sprints like I used to, 2 a.m. writing sprints like I used to do. I used to start writing at 10 p.m. at night and write until I just couldn't stay awake anymore. I don't do that. That was not good for me. And so I don't do that anymore. I try to sleep a little bit more. I also try to refill my well. You'll hear a lot of people on YouTube talking about that, about motivating your muse again or getting the inspiration back. I do that by reading a lot of books. I do that a lot more often by reading my Bible instead of reading more fiction, because that feeds me more on a deeper level. But I still read a lot of fiction. I listen to a lot a lot of audiobooks. I love audiobooks. If you're a writer and your book is on audiobooks, if you have permission, drop your audiobook title in the comment, because I'm always looking for new audiobooks. I love audiobooks. My kiddo and I, we listen to them all the time. And then the last question I have on writing, don't forget to leave more questions in the comments if you want me to answer them. And for some reason, I think only YouTube is taking my comments right now. Anyway, and if you're on YouTube, please subscribe to my channel. One of my goals for this year is to have 1,000 subscribers by December. Please subscribe, nudge the little like button, leave comments. All that stuff helps me a lot, and it costs you nothing. And you can't imagine how much it helps my self-esteem, my energy level, and my channel. That would be great. Okay. So here we go. The last question on writing is, how do I write? Let me see if I can word this question correctly. It was worded strange, but is there any difference to writing as a Christian as writing as a non-Christian? That's very hard for me to answer because I am a Christian. So I've never written as a non-Christian. I think what you're wanting to know is, do I do anything differently than other writers? And I can only answer for me what I do. So as a Christian, as a believer, as a Jesus follower, I do my very best to keep my books clean. Yeah, I write murder. So there is going to be death and there's going to be violence. And but I try to keep them as non-graphic as possible. I try to keep the language as clean as I possibly can. In fact, a lot of my characters will curse using snack foods as their curse words, which I've gotten laughed at before by editors and stuff. But I don't want them to use swear words. I want them just to be, I want them to be as clean as possible. So I try to do my best to do that. I also refrain from having steamy scenes in my book. I don't listen to books with steamy scenes in them, so I try not to add those to my books. In fact, one of the things I try to do for my books, and this might be more of just being a mom than a Christian, is that I want my books to be wholesome enough that if somebody like me popped them onto audiobook with their kid, and my kid right now is like 16, 19, but when we started listening to audiobooks together, my kids were little, like 7. When I started listening to mysteries with one of my kiddos, they were like 10. So anything that would embarrass me in front of my child, anything that I think would be inappropriate for them to know about, or anything I believe would be inappropriate, or that I would have to sit down and we'd have to have a big heart-to-heart about what this issue is and what it looks like in the world and what it looks like in our day-to-day life, and what anything that's that weighty or heavy, I try to keep out of my books as much as possible. Although having said that, the Honey Pot Mysteries deals with a lot of real world things that I have had to explain before to my child. So they're a little bit heavier in that there are some situations that you'll want to explain, you'll want to talk with your child about in the Honey Pot Mystery series, but nothing that would make me blush, nothing that would make me run to my device and push pause. I want to keep it as clean as possible for as many ears as possible. And then the other thing I do as writing as a Christian is I try to include my faith in every book I write. So the Honey Pot Mystery series is a Christian suspense series. So the main characters are going to go to church. They're going to talk about God. They're going to share the gospel with people. They're going to try as best as humanly possible to live out the gospel, which isn't easy to do. So they're going to be flawed. They're going to make huge mistakes, and they're going to try to make good on those huge mistakes later. That's the Honey Pot Mystery series. It's very overt. It's very Christian. You're not going to get around it in that series. So if that's not what you're looking for, that's not the series for you. I'd love you to read it anyway, because I love the characters in the book and I think they're great mysteries on their own, but they are overtly Christian. They're not shy about it. The other thing I do is, even in my other series that are not Christian mysteries, I will have at least a character or two who is, and they do share their faith a little bit. It's not overt like in the Honey Pot mystery series, and it doesn't play a subplot or another storyline in it, but I try to have at least one character who is sharing their faith at all times. I think that's important to my heart, um, because I think the most loving thing I can do is share with people Jesus, because he is the lover of our souls. And why would I not want to share him with you? Why would I try to hide that? Um, he's the best thing I have to offer. He's really the only thing, sorry about my microphone, that I have to offer that's worth anything good and eternal. And so I try to share him as much as I can in every one of my series. In all of my videos, I try to do all the things I said before: be clean, be kind, be be brave, be bold. All the things that I want my characters to be, I try to include in my writing as a Christian, as a believer, while trying to make the books exciting, clean, wholesome, and inviting. That's how I write as a Christian. All right. So on to the Honeybot questions, and I only have like 4 of these, which is interesting because a lot of you guys wanted to know more about my writing than about the series. But so the first question was, how did I come up with the ladies in Honeypot? The people in Honeypot are all homeschooling moms, which I relate to since I am a homeschooling mom, and I came up with them by watching other homeschooling moms and just meshing the huge kaleidoscope of styles and personalities and children and families, meshing them into these 4 women as best as I can, because there's so many different kinds of homeschoolers. There's so many different belief systems in homeschooling. There's so many different ways of parenting, senses of humor, ideas of purity, like all kinds of stuff. So I did the very best I could to mesh as many personalities as I could into these 4 women. And often I'll get emails saying, hey, I know this person is like my friend Becky, or hey, this is like my friend Sherry. And I love hearing those comments because I know I've done something right. Because I want these ladies to be your friends. I want them to be close to you, to feel close to them. And I want them to feel like either people you could look up to and be mentored by, or people you could see yourself getting in the car and chasing down criminals with. They are really dear to me. Okay, and the next question is Honeypot a real town? If it is, I don't know. I made up Honeypot. Its real name is Pottersville. Pottersville is named after It's a Wonderful Life. But Honeypot is because I like bees, and also because my sister has a nickname that goes along with Honeypot. So that's why, one of the reasons that I named the town what I named it. Yes, there's a whole bunch of Easter eggs in my stories for people who do know me. If they look hard enough, they'll be able to probably find at least a nod to them. Not that I ever copy their personalities or anything like that into my stories. Sometimes I borrow their names, but their names don't sync up with their personalities. They're just little nods to you because I care about you. But Honeypot is not a real town. It's not a real city. I based Honeypot, though, very, very, very loosely off a trip to Montana, which is why in the summer, the sun will stay up to almost 10 or 11. And in the winter, it goes down really early. Why their seasons are so extreme. Why the town is so secluded and has the big cities out to the sides. It totally reminded me of Montana, and I had a wonderful trip to Montana visiting some friends, and it left a big impact on me. In fact, one of the shops that I visited in Montana inspired the coffee shop from the Honey Pot Mystery Series, the 3 Alarm Coffee. So is Honey Pot real? No. Is it loosely based on a real experience that I had in a real place? Yes, but it's like 3 cities from one state all smashed together. Okay. Let's see. What other questions do I have? Oh, how many more honey pots will there be? That's a really hard question to answer because I don't know. I don't know how many honey pot mysteries there will be, if there will even be any more. This beauty may be the last one. I don't know. It kind of depends on the demand for another one. I think I have one more story to tell at least. So I'll say that when I first started writing Honey Pot, I had only thought there'd be 3, and we're looking at book 7. So as I write, I get inspired to write more. So at this point, I see myself being able to eke out one more story, just one. But who can tell? Because after I write that one, there might come another, or I might not write that one at all. You'll have to let me know. You'll have to read Bloodlines and Betrayals and let me know if you think there needs to be more to the series. I really enjoyed writing Honey Pot. I enjoy spending time with the ladies. I really like getting it put onto audio, and my narrator is also a homeschool mom. So that's pretty cool to be able to support another mom in the journey. When she was hired, I did not know she was a homeschool mom until the hiring process, until the vetting process was almost over. But it was really cool to have the circle, like the homeschool love inside this mystery series about these crazy women who take it upon themselves to solve the crimes in their small town. At the time when I started writing Honey Pot, I was younger than the main characters. Now I am older than the main characters. So that's really strange to me because they have not aged, but I have. So I don't know if that affects how I'm writing them or my ability to write them. We'll see. We will see. This particular book in the series, because I was not sure how many more I would write, is dedicated to all my homeschool moms and my friends who've always encouraged me and spurred me on. That includes you. If you're a homeschooling parent and you're here cheering me on, leaving comments, subscribing, that includes you. This book is for you too. It's dedicated to all of those. Anyway, that's all I have to say about that. That's all the questions I got. I see Serena. I see you. Thanks for hanging out. I'm going to totally mispronounce your name, but Akash, I see you too. And before I log off, if there's no more questions, I'd like to pray for everybody and just pray a blessing over you guys. And thanks so much for hanging out with me. I cannot believe that I've got to write 7 books in this series. It's my privilege. It's my honor. It's my joy to do it. Thank you for supporting me. Thank you for cheering me on. And let's pray real quick before we close down, okay? Father God, thank you so much for loving us with an unending love. Thank you for wanting to be known by us and encouraging us to get to know you. Be with all my readers and bless them. Bring them favor, bring them joy, bring them peace, Lord. Be with those out there who might stumble upon this, who are looking for you, Lord. Open their eyes, bring them people who can speak into their lives about you, Lord. Thank you so much for loving us and help us to love one another. Thank you for my readers, God. God bless them and encourage them along their journey. In Jesus' name, amen. I love you guys. I can't wait to hang out again. Please don't forget to leave a comment so that I can draw for a winner of the signed copy of Bloodlines and Betrayals. And I'll be doing that on Friday. Even if you're watching the replay, go ahead, hit the subscribe button, or make sure you are subscribed. Sometimes YouTube will unsubscribe people. Make sure you nudge the little like button and leave a comment. and I will see you next time. Bye.